please welcome Henry Crown Fellow and Executive Vice President of Leadership at the Aspen Institute, Stace Lindsay.
Wow. I've been muted. Okay. Wow. One more round of applause for these three amazing laureates. While they get the stage, it looks like the stage is set up. Why don't you all come on up? Stage was almost set. Thank you for joining us and welcome. Before we get started, just a few framing remarks. In this new role, Executive Vice President for Leadership, is relatively new for me. My relationship with the Institute goes way back to 2002 when I was a Henry Crown Fellow. But one of the things that's been so fascinating for me since assuming this role is getting to know the depth and breadth of all that Aspen has to offer the world, including Aspen Kyiv, which is an Aspen Institute international partner, where in addition to doing schooling in the bomb shelters, every month they're doing seminars, Aspen executive seminars in the bomb shelters during the past 5 years of this war. We have the Food and Society Fellowship, which is not part of the Aspen Global Leadership Network yet, doing remarkable work that is integrating both leadership and the policy work to change the systems. And we have this remarkable fellowship called the Civil Society Fellowship. Can I just ask the Civil Society Fellows to join you? You've been here en masse this week. Please stand up.
Wow, that's a lot.
Remarkable work and 2 consecutive years of McNulty laureates. 3 consecutive years. I stand corrected. And Nikki, a special thanks to you for having built 4 extraordinary cohorts of leaders doing remarkable work. And so we're here, we've just seen what I'm going to consider, a colleague of mine has a podcast called The B-Side. Some of you may be too young to remember it, though it's coming back into fashion, but albums had A-sides and B-sides, and the A-sides were the hits. The fantastic stuff that you see that everybody knows. You just saw the A-side videos, remarkable stories. These people are doing remarkable work. One of my great privileges every year is to have the chance to say, well, what's in the B-side? What's the hidden story of who you are as human beings, as individuals? We'll have plenty of time to learn about the strategies and the systems and how to change things. But for the next 20 minutes, I'd love just to invite you to think about us at a dinner table, having a conversation, getting to know one another, and the stories, what makes us who we are, what drives us to do what we do. Aware of the fact that everybody else in this room is looking to make an impact in the world. And you all have learned things that we can all benefit from. So without further introduction, let me just start. And I'm going to start with you, Anna, because you said something in your video that was pretty astonishing. If I heard it correctly, as the war was beginning to start, you were on a fellowship, Hubert Humphrey Fellowship, in the United States, living a wonderful life, and you fought to catch one of the last flights back to Ukraine in the war. Why?
Well, can you imagine watching online invasion of your country, having your parents, your friends, your whole life there? Even now, I think when we travel abroad and there is a big attack happening in Kyiv, predominantly it happens at night, you feel much better when you're in it because you can relate to your people rather than when you're outside and enjoying, so to say, some form of safety. War, it just makes you, it not teaches, not ask, it makes you to choose what's important to you. And you kind of do the choice, I guess, sometimes unconsciously, you just do it, right? So for me, it was essential to be home. I was among the people who believed that the war will not happen, but just in case, I'll be there. I was among those people who was choosing whether the invasion started Thursday. On Wednesday night, I was choosing between leaving Kyiv and going to my dentist, right? And I chose the second because I didn't believe there would be war. But if there is a chance, you better be there.
And before you left, you were the Minister of Education.
Before I left to the fellowship in the U.S., yes, I served in the ministry in general more than 6 years, and the last year I was in the position of the minister.
So when you landed back, how did you decide what you wanted to do?
Well, listen, those first months of the invasion have been complete chaos. We didn't know how to behave when there is missile attack. Everybody saw that particular missile is, of course, flying towards your house. So there was a behavioral chaos. You do not know how you behave, what you do. But as months went by, first 2, right? I kind of started getting feeling that when you do something that is helpful to whoever you can help, right? It makes things easier for you. And so when Ukrainian armed forces liberated in end of March, early April, first territories that have been captured by Russians in the north of Ukraine, myself and Anna, we called head of the Department of Education of a big city called Chernihiv. It's 250,000 inhabitants. It was encircled for months. Russians didn't manage to capture it. It was a heroic thing of these people who lived under siege. And we called him and asked how we can help, having absolutely no clue how exactly we can help, having no money, no resources, nothing, just a wish to help. And he said Russians had 27 out of 34 schools in our city. How exactly can you help us? And then we just, bit by bit, he asked, maybe you can help us with the assessment of the damage. And that was something that we could do, right? That was not that heavy lifting, and we attracted first 50,000 euros to do the assessment of the damaged schools. And then we said, hey, we have all this information. Maybe we can also start to fundraise, for recovery of that. And I think that was the moment when we first realized that this is a huge thing happening in education with all the destruction, but also that maybe we could also look for ways how to help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rudy?
Hey.
What led you to do the work that you're doing now?
Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to get rich. I wanted to have a house on that mountain right there.
Yeah.
And that's the genesis story of my career. And so I studied business in undergrad because I thought if I got a bachelor's degree in business, I'm going to be rich at 21.
Yeah.
But something happened in school. I woke up. I learned about the fact that I thought my experience growing up with a single mom who was a waitress for 35 years, taking care of me and my brother, I thought that my experience was really unique. And I started to learn that it's not unique at all. It's not unique at all. And then my interest in getting rich became an interest in helping everybody get resources that they deserve. And so that is sort of the mission that I'm really passionate about, is still money, but it's about how does money move, or how doesn't it move? And how do we make sure that we get resources to the people that don't have it? So it came from a really personal place.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And Tom, you said yesterday to me in a conversation, at one point you were traveling to China every other week, helping work global supply chains for tchotchkes, right? Get the stuff we all need for our swag bags.
That's right. Yep. Everyone needs a good tchotchke guy.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, Michael Pollan wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, and there was no Wi-Fi on planes, so I suddenly got very angry about corn. And then I landed, and I would spend days and sometimes weeks in these very small cities, or sometimes large cities, overseeing the production of tchotchkes. Lanyards and t-shirts and hats and pens and USB drives and whatever. And then I would manage the global logistics, trains and planes and automobiles and freight brokers to get them to the Washington Nationals Baseball Stadium for Curly Hat Day or whatever. And in so doing, I got a real close look at what an externality is in a global capitalist system. I saw viscerally that the price of the things that we were producing and consuming was in no way representative of the true cost of those things. And it has nothing to do with China and everything to do with the fact that we weren't assigning a value to the environmental degradation associated with that type of manufacturing or the human rights abuses that were happening right in front of my eyes in the name of getting a cheaper price. And so I had my quarter-life crisis in recognizing all of that, and it woke up the inner activist in me, and I've been pursuing what to do about that ever since.
For each of you, there's a moment, there's a specific moment and a gradual realization. And I think, Rudy, as we were talking yesterday, it's been that anger that was fomented as you came to realize your experience isn't alone. Anna, you framed it as you don't really have a choice. The stakes are so high. For you, there's nothing but to do what you're doing. Tom, you shared a story about your son that is part of what motivates you. And I wonder if you could share a little bit of that story for us.
Cue the waterworks. I'm the father of 3 young boys, 8, 6, and 3, who will be here tomorrow night, so hopefully you can meet the Silly Goose crew. And our second son was born in April of 2020, which, if any of you remember, was a weird time to be doing anything in a hospital, let alone giving birth. So we decided to do a home birth so that I could be there and our doula could be there and our family and midwife and so on, because none of that would be allowed in a hospital setting. And it was beautiful. Baby Levi was born in April 2020, and he's the best. Fast forward to summer of 23 now, and my wife and I are expecting our 3rd son. And we decided again to do a home birth, but this time we had moved out to rural Virginia. And so we had a whole plan, and my wife had each of the first 2 relatively long labors, and we had a great midwife team. And so we were in touch the morning that she went into labor with the midwives, and just calling them every hour or so, like, there's how far apart the contractions are. And one of the latter calls, it's like, I think there's about 9-10 minutes or so in the last one. And the midwife's like, okay, well, I'm an hour away, so I'll pack my stuff and I'll come out. If I spend the night, that's totally fine. It sounds like we're several hours away, which I'll see when I get there. And we hung up the phone, and 9 minutes went to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Things hurried up. And so we called her back, and was like, where are you? She's like, I'm about 20 minutes out. I was like, I'm like quietly, can you hurry up? And she's like, 19 minutes, I guess. And I hung up again and called her back a few minutes later. I was like, he's coming. And her words were, and I had her on speakerphone, my wife and I were in our bedroom. Our 2 kids were thankfully asleep. My mom and dad were there caring for them. They're watching right now. Hi, Mom and Dad. And the midwife said, you've got this. Agree to disagree a little bit. But when she said that, my wife and I both experienced, she was right. And we knew it. There was a deep knowing because we weren't there alone. We were immediately held by this light that I can only come to describe as the love of God. And we had just full faith in that what was about to be one of the most divine human experiences. And my wife gave birth to, and I delivered my son. And yeah. A year ago this week, baby Easton was in the hospital, and my wife and I found ourselves asking the doctors if he was about to die. We spent 15 days there. It was a whole lot of life. My wife's father died in that time period. I got a major surgery. A lot of life crammed into 15 really rough days. I've got new big feelings about the American healthcare system. But baby Easton is fine, as you'll see if you meet him tomorrow. The good news is he is fine. We got home. We're on a long healing journey with him. He will be fine. And the silver lining of all of that, I think the reason you asked the question is that I am fresh out of you-know-what's to give. I am on a tear because I saw soon thereafter a bumper sticker or a post or something that said, you can either be universally liked or you can be authentic, but you can't be both. And I am choosing authenticity. And in so doing, I am driving at this thing of building a new system because Easton's going to be 77 at the turn of the century. And if we stay in the current system on the trajectory we're on, that doesn't look good for him or any of his other kids.
Yeah.
So let's change it.
Thank you, Tom, for sharing that story. Rudy, what keeps you going? You said a minute ago the system's designed to keep those without the resources, and you are valiantly, you and your team, every day, waking up, going after it. What keeps you going?
I don't know what I told you when we prepped, but something else is coming in these days.
As we learned from Delhi, there is no prep. This is all real-time innovation.
You know, I was at lunch in the long lunch line today at the hub, and then I met a new friend, Ann. I don't know if she's in this room, but I was telling her a little bit about our work, and we have a session on Friday with some of the homies here from the fellowship that's called the Economy of Possibility on Friday. And I was telling her about it, and she said, do you think a different economy is possible? And I told her that I still believe that it is. And I think that, so what keeps me going is this hope, this faith, that we can still do things better. And that we just can't give up, and that we can find a way. And so I think that that's what drives me. I definitely, I don't know if I have the courage that you have to go into a war, but I mean, I certainly am attracted to big problems, and I think that's why I love my city, Los Angeles, so much, because it's drama and there's so many problems there. But I feel like that there's another future that's just, it's actually pretty close.
Yeah.
And if we could get over ourselves, if we could surrender our power and privilege, if we could be willing to talk to each other frankly, and not separate once we disagree, but actually stay with looking at each other, I think we could get to that future pretty quickly. And so I have hope there.
Yeah. When you just have a really bad day and things are going wrong and the decisions aren't landing in your way, how do you find the strength? Where does it come from to keep you going?
The first answer that came to mind is wine, but
Wine helps.
You know, my wife might have a better answer. I play my PlayStation 5 if I need 10 minutes, like just to kind of reset.
Yeah.
But you know, the deeper answer though is honestly the workers and the entrepreneurs that we work with.
Yeah.
That sometimes they'll come into the office for coaching or to get access to a microloan, and the coaching that I get from them, no offense, Stace,
Yeah.
is like so valuable.
None taken.
It's so valuable. And sometimes it just takes 1 minute of their time of just saying, how are you doing? I'll be like, oh man, I'm stressed, I'm doing all this stuff. And they're like, you're not that stressed. You're gonna be okay. This is what I'm dealing with. And have you thought about looking at the problem in this way? And usually that helps. It helps me get back in the game. And so I have a lot of stories of street vendors in our effort to legalize street vending in LA that got me back in the arena when I was mad or my ego was driving my decision making, and they called me and said, you need to be in this meeting, bro. This is what you're here for. Yeah. You're called to do this. Don't forget. And so those are the folks around me that keep me in line.
Yeah. Beautiful story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anna, you introduced me to a concept yesterday I'd never heard before. A sleeping trip?
Yes.
What's a sleeping trip?
You know, being 5 years in the war is kind of difficult, and your body is always your medium in life, right? You perceive everything, you feel everything through your own body, every loss, every tragedy, every attack, everything good as well. And to me personally, the hardest thing physically has been sleep disorder. For this last year became a little bit better, but previous 4 years have been pretty nasty. Like when you just wake up at 2 and 3 a.m., even if there is no attack, and then you cannot fall asleep further. What I learned is you very quickly go crazy. No, literally, it's very, very hard. So now, last 3 months or so, in parallel to Ukraine's fighting back Russian oil refineries, and bringing back the war to Russia, where it brought from to Ukraine, right? Russia intensified attacks specifically on Kyiv to demoralize us. So usually we have like 3 huge drones ballistics attacks per week. So it usually starts 1 a.m. until roughly 5. And then I'm lucky to have a bomb shelter. So when I go up, I'm kind of glad that this time it's not me. And it's just difficult to be in this way and to even like to do what we do with Anna at SAVAT. And this is, I think, the most, we are super mission driven, belief driven, but if you are just physically exhausted, you have to take care of yourself. And this is what I learned, that it's very hard to further develop organization if I'm just, if I'm just literally going crazy because I do not sleep. So yeah, so now I'm investing in just driving 8 hours to Ukrainian mountains to the west and staying there for at least a week and then going back. And this is what we now agreed with my family that we will adapt because, well, otherwise, I mean, I have a very nice fluffy sunbed that I take with myself to the bomb shelter, but it's still difficult.
Yeah. You also said safety is not your purpose.
It turns out, yeah.
What is your purpose?
I told you that little story as well. When the invasion started, out of sudden, people of my age started to live with their parents again. Because we are a generation of those who moved to the capital, who moved to get education in a big city, who moved out of their villages. I lived in a very small town. And because Russians have been advancing towards capital, we had to move out. And so where did we go? To our parents. So back then I was 32, I'm living with my mom again. That was difficult. To live with your mom in war is difficult. We decided to split in case our house get hit. My dad and brother stayed in our house, and then my mom went to the west of Ukraine to a relative. So I lived with her for more than a month. And once I came up with the thought that maybe that would somehow make her better. It didn't, but maybe I have to come up with better things. But it helped me, and it helps me until this very day. I realized that, and it will sound pathetic, I know, but we are now the first generation of Ukrainians who, in general, at least have a chance to preserve statehood. We never, ever had it. Our previous independence from after Russian Empire collapsed, and there was all this mess that later became slavery in Soviet Union, our independence lasted half a year, that's it, right? So then the experience of regained independence and statehood was in 1991. And we are the first generation that at least has a chance, because all the previous generation of Ukrainians, throughout 300 plus years of Russian domination in different forms, did not. And I think it is enough of sense of purpose, to stay there and to do what we can. And just to make it also very right, I love this, not a slogan, but the words that also are surrounding this prize, and there's vision and courage. I'd say the most courageous among us are those who went to the front line. Now, men are required to do that, but there's 70 plus thousand women who volunteered to be on the front line, and I'm not among them. I'm less courageous than them, and I'm grateful to people like that to sit here and to do the sense of purpose, right, that I have now in Ukraine.
Yeah, thank you. All three of you, each of you have reframed. When I watch the videos, I have a sense of what you're doing, but in talking with you, you reframe the conversation for me. You change for me what's at stake. For you, your son's vision at 77 years old, you can't imagine that world. You don't give a damn anymore. It's like the other stuff's not worth it. So you've raised the stakes. As you said to me, you have no choice. This is your nation. This is the independence of your nation. You need to go. And Rudy, you think about the generations of people who have the same experience that you do, and the anger that drives you. And it's like, this system isn't going to beat us down. We can reimagine the system. So as I think about what drives you underneath, the B side, there's this deep sense of conviction There wasn't like a moment and suddenly an epiphany. It's built over time, but you've listened. You used the word yesterday of sort of a sense of, what did you say? You have a sense of knowing that you're doing the right thing. So as you think about the stakes, your commitment to the work you're doing, the amazing work that you're doing, all the help that this community is going to give you, I wonder if you could we could close with you sharing some of the hard-earned insight you have, a piece of advice for this group who may be sitting on the edge saying, I think I might be able to do more, but I'm pretty comfortable. You mentioned power and privilege. The stakes aren't necessarily war. Many would say the stakes could be. A lot of things are changing, and we're watching it. What advice would you have for us who think we'd like to make a difference in the world, but maybe sitting on the fence?
Yeah, I could start. I think one thing, just being aware of time, one thing that is important for me and that I learned from our work at Save Ed is that at the beginning, but also somewhere in the middle as well, you might have no clue what you're doing. Right? You might really have no strategy. I think that's not the best thing to admit to, but that's true, especially in circumstances of uncertainty and uncertainty of different type. It doesn't have to be war only. It's about funding, about the model, about even your goals, right? And I think this is where we've been first. We are just 4 years. And by the way, it's all coincided that today we are 4 years. We officially incorporated Save Ed on 22nd of July. We're just 4 years, but I think first 2 years we were just navigating in a bit of a sort of tunnel, right? But now we have a clear strategy. And it takes time, and it's super uncomfortable, but I think you just have to be ready for that and embrace it.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, sitting on the fence seems uncomfortable, you know, when I think about it. And
No way.
It doesn't choose a side. And, you know, John in the previous panel with Deli was talking about philanthropy. Our organization early last year decided to join a lawsuit as a plaintiff, and we sued the IRS. We sued the IRS because the IRS forged a data sharing agreement with ICE. You folks might know that in this country, undocumented immigrants pay taxes. In fact, they pay $100 billion in taxes every single year. And a piece of our loan portfolio includes undocumented entrepreneurs that pay taxes, create jobs, own property. And so we decided to join in this lawsuit to try to stop this. Some people were saying, amazing, keep going. But there was others that were afraid. And they decided not to stand with us. And they decided to pull back their resources. They're still afraid to this day. And so, you know, as a practitioner, we may join other impact litigation with other allies. And I think about that, and I think about, did we make the right decision? And when I talk to my team, we always say that we did. And so my advice to folks that are on the fence is to choose a side, be comfortable wherever you decide to sit, and also what we talked about, I hope I don't steal your thunder, Tom, but I just really believe there's nobody else that's coming. It's just us.
Yeah.
There's no one else that's going to come and help us, y'all. It's just us. So we need each other. Yeah. And it's going to be scary to choose a side, but if we do it together, we might get a few other people on our side and we can have a little party. It'll be good, you know? So it's scary, but we'll get there, you know? Thank you.
The teachings of Ram Dass have played an important role in my life. And I was sharing in seminar early today that in particular there was a lecture that he did in the mid-'70s called Sit Around the Fire. And I just love it because the last line of it is, quote, "And pretty soon you realize that all you're going to do for eternity is sit around the fire." And the build-up to that is this idea that in each of us, we've got a little ember, a spark, and step one is to care for it. Care for that spark in all of us, and if you get it just right, kind of sort of blow on it, and it'll flicker into a little flame. I'm telling the story, unbeknownst to me, all of the facilitators and moderators watched this thing yesterday. I had no idea. And I I think the beginning of the answer to the question, well, what does leadership look like? And what do we do? What is the call to action? I think the next step after you're caring for your flame and it's well lit is to merge it with other flames. And there's 300 some odd flames here, because when you merge lots of little flames together, you get a roaring bonfire. Good place for a party.
Yeah.
And fires provide light, direction, warmth, safety. Take care of your flame and then merge it with others around you. And let's have a party around the fire.